This video will be on the digestive system. So first I'm going to do an overview of the digestive system. It starts off in our mouth, and here we have both chemical and mechanical digestion. So chemical is the amylase in our saliva, and mechanical would be our teeth, grinding up food. Mechanical would be our teeth. So next stage is the esophagus, next major part of the pathway. We do pass the pharynx, so I will include that here. Next we have is the stomach. Stomach also has both chemical and mechanical digestion. Chemical, you can think of, hydrochloric acid. So hydrochloric acid, which activates things like, pepsinogen to turn it into pepsin, the proteins, but we'll speak more about that later. And mechanical, because we do have, smooth muscle in our stomach. You can think of, the churning of food in your stomach. This is mechanical digestion. Okay, next is the small intestine. Composed of 3 parts. The first part is called the duodenum. The duodenum is important. Next is the jejunum. And after that is the ileum. After the small intestine, we have the large intestine. And the last part of the large intestine is called the rectum. The last portion, the last section is called the rectum. After that, the exit is the anus. Okay, so now on to the duodenum. So let me kind of draw. So notice up here I didn't mention things like the liver or the pancreas. So how are they involved in digestion? And it is through our small intestine. So here would be my liver. And my stomach is this J shape. So something like this. And then our pancreas, sits kind of underneath our stomach. So let me label this. This is our stomach, and this guy here is the pancreas. And as mentioned up here, after the stomach is the small intestine. So this is the small intestine. The first part, which is called the duodenum, and in the duodenum we have, most active chemical digestion. And some of those chemicals come from, one set comes from the liver, and then we call this guy the bile duct. And we call it this because, so let me say, underneath your liver, so if I were to, represent this as my liver, this creates something known as bile. So your liver creates bile, which is for fat digestion. Underneath your liver, if you were to pick up one of the lobes, you'll see another structure. This guy here is the gallbladder. There is a tube coming out of it, and also shares with the liver. We call this the bile duct. So bile duct, carries bile, and that goes to the small intestine, the duodenum to be specific. Similarly for your pancreas, goes to your small intestine. We call this the pancreatic duct. And this is how products from the pancreas and liver, how they're involved with your digestive system. Okay, So how food travels from one place to the other is through this process called peristalsis. So your digestive tract is lined with smooth muscle, and your smooth muscle can contract. So there's my muscle. Let's say here's my little ball of food. So if this little ball of food was up here, I can expect the smooth muscle in this area to contract, pushing there. When this contracts, it's going to close up this region and food will be forced down. So let's do a little time skip and let's see what we have. So here's my system of muscle. Here is my, the lumen of the intestine. Now my food traveled a bit farther. So now I'll have contractions at a different part. Make this go all the way down. And this would be this is how food gets from one end to the other. Okay, so let's first talk about the pancreas and its functions for digestion. Pancreas has, two main functions. It has the endocrine part, and its second set is called exocrine. For digestion, we're mainly going to speak about the exocrine system. The endocrine part consists of the islet cells. And they produce hormones which we'll talk about in a different lab. Your exocrine part, produces the these are composed of the acinar cells. And here we produce and secrete digestive enzymes. Produce and secrete digestive enzymes. Second, the pancreatic duct also has a function. This secretes bicarbonate. The cells that line the pancreatic duct sends bicarbonate to the duodenum of the small intestine. So what's the purpose of sending, bicarbonate to, so here is bicarbonate. The small intestine, it's going to be receiving, an acidic environment from the stomach. So we can expect to see, some protons, in that environment, which isn't good. It could damage cells. And to get rid of these protons, we throw a base in there. So bicarbonate here, this is a base. If this sees, a free-floating proton, it's going to react with it, sop it up. So forming us carbonic acid. Now we have, less free-floating protons. We, keep the pH from changing too much. Less free protons, So the environment is now less acidic. Okay. So now back to the digestive enzymes. One class of these enzymes are called proteases. And, the goal is to digest proteins. Digest proteins. So two proteases are trypsin. One is called trypsin, and another is called chymotrypsin. And let's see what they do. Trypsin and chymotrypsin. They take, a protein, and they can turn it into a smaller set into a peptide. More than that, it takes other peptides and turns them into smaller peptides. But what gets these smaller peptides into their components, the amino acids, this is not done by the pancreas into single free-floating amino acids. This is actually done by something called carboxypeptidase. And this is produced by the, epithelial cells of the intestine, of the small intestine. Epithelial cells of the small intestine. And this is what can turn these smaller peptides into, free-floating amino acids. Okay, the second set of digestive enzymes are called, lipase. And if you remember, we can see this prefix here, lip for lipids. One type of lipid is a triglyceride, and I'm going to draw a triglyceride here. So here is my lipid, long chain of hydrocarbons. These here are my long chain of hydrocarbons, causing the molecule to be, nonpolar. Okay, so what lipase will do, to make this into more digestible pieces is we're going to need some water first. We'll need actually 2 molecules of water. And we are going to produce instead of a triglyceride, a monoglyceride. And the other 2 spots are going to be where those water molecules came in. So this is a triglyceride. And here would be 2 monoglyceride. Plus our 2 remaining products would be 2 fatty acids. And these could have their protons attached. So 2 monoglyceride and 2 fatty acids. Okay, and this was a reaction this is an example of a hydrolysis reaction. Because we used, water to break up this, long chain molecule. Okay, so after this, we're going to need the help of, bile salts, from the liver to help us, organize these into digestible pieces, to organize and to digest and then absorb these products from the lipase reactions. By these products, I mean up here, these guys. Okay. So third class we have, is pancreatic amylase. And this is the, alpha version. And this takes, starch. Here is my starch. And it turns it into one of 3 products. And I'll put ... because it's many of these put together. So one possible product is regular good old glucose. Another possible product is the disaccharide version. This is known as maltose. And a third possible product is the trisaccharide version known as maltotriose. But these are, digestible pieces of this large monosaccharide. So this here is maltotriose. That's it for this video. I will see you in the next one.